Is scar tissue the reason why you have pain after an injury? Find out in this episode of Monday Mornings with Michael. Chances are if you've had an injury, somebody's told you that the reason why you have pain is scar tissue, or like a muscle adhesion or something like that. The idea is that you suffer injury, scar tissue builds up, and that's the reason why you have pain, because the tissue can't function properly. The treatment then would be to break up the scar tissue, obviously, either through some sort of massage, foam rolling, lacrosse balls, self-myofascial release techniques, all that kind of stuff in an effort to break up the scar tissue and thus reduce the pain. However, there's a couple problems with the scar tissue theory, especially when you're looking at pain and recovery. The first problem is that scar tissue is actually really strong tissue. So they've done modeling in the research to see how much force it would be required to break up either the plantar fascia or the iliotibial band. And they came to the conclusion that it would take about 1,800 pounds of pressure or about 2,000 pounds of pressure to elongate the tissue 1%. The fact that scar tissue is actually really strong tissue is actually a good thing. If you could break down scar tissue by doing massage or self-myofascial release or foam rolling or anything like that, then your tissues would rip anytime you moved. So whenever we walked, ran, lifted something off of the ground, went to the gym, anything like that, you'd be putting way too much force through the body and you would rip the scar tissue every time you moved. The second problem is that even if you could break up scar tissue, the simple act of breaking up scar tissue is causing tissue damage. So you would end up in this repetitive loop. So you would suffer an injury, scar tissue would form, then you would have treatment which would break up more scar tissue, causing more tissue damage, which would be another injury, and you would just keep building scar tissue in this repetitive cycle. In other words, you'd be chronically injured. You would never be able to get out of that cycle. Just because manual therapy doesn't seem to work on a mechanical level, that doesn't mean that it's not helpful in reducing pain. Instead of a mechanical mechanism where we're breaking down scar tissue, it seems that manual therapy works on the neurological mechanism instead. In your tissues, you have mechanical receptors, and so whenever you have an injury, those tissues send out a danger signal, which is called nociception. The danger signal travels up to the brain, and so inevitably it's the brain that decides whether pain is appropriate for whatever is going on. If there's more mechanical stimulus, then the brain might not see whatever is going on as a threatening environment, and so it won't produce pain. The mechanical receptors and the nociceptive receptors actually converge on the same nerve fiber, and so if we can bombard that nerve fiber with mechanical stimulus, it means that we can reduce the nociceptive signal. So why is all this important? Since the focus isn't on breaking down scar tissue through the mechanical mechanism, we only need to use as much force as necessary to stimulate the mechanical receptors. Because we are using less force, it means that we can decrease the tissue damage caused during treatment, and we can also reduce the soreness. This means that we'd be able to get back to doing whatever we were trying to do originally, whether that's going to the gym, running, walking, doing whatever it is. I think it's important when we're looking at manual therapy to remember that we're not trying to cause tissue damage and soreness. We're trying to get back to doing whatever we wanted to do. Thank you guys for watching this episode on the scar tissue myth. I hope that you found this video useful. If you did, please let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.